It's funny that you know raise your hand to volunteer, because now you're going to be my volunteer for this. So, and I don't want you to give away the question, but good morning, everyone. My name is Bobbie Herron, and I am the Director of Dealer Marketing for Zemont Auto Group, a division of the Cardinelli Auto Group. So today what I want to talk to you guys about is connecting with the people that you're trying to recruit rather than recruiting people. We have a tendency to think that when we recruit people, we just put a job ad online and we hire reactively rather than proactively, right? So that's something that we're going to focus on today. And what I want to start with for you guys is my most recent job search. And I think this is important because not only am I a woman in the automotive industry, but I'm also a millennial on the cusp. And many of you think that when you think of millennials, you're thinking of people who are just coming out of college, people who are entry level. I hear a lot of people say things like, well, you know, those millennials, they just want to work a flexible schedule. That's not always true for all of us. So I think it's important that we start looking at our industry as a whole in a whole different way. So by 2025, 75% of our industry will employ millennials. Of that percentage, the highest group of turnover is women. And so I don't want you to think in this session that we're talking about just women and millennials. What we're talking about is a different way to approach the consumer experience within our stores, or if you're a vendor within your dealers, by recruiting the people who share the same message as the people that are searching for you. So to start with, 12 weeks ago, I decided to leave my job at Garber Automotive. I had been there for 6 years. I've worked my way up through the ranks, so I've worked in every department in a dealership successfully, hit every quota, sales goals, and I'm known for building teams. In my entire 16 years in my career, I've had 2 people quit working for me. 1, because I was a bad leader at the time, didn't know better, and 2, because they got a better job offer. Of that time, I promoted many people. But during that time, the biggest focus that I had was doing things differently. So 12 weeks ago, I decided to leave my job. And I decided, instead of doing it the regular way and calling everybody and saying, is anybody hiring? Can I reach out to you? Can anybody help me find something? I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm known for being progressive. I'm a little edgy. I like to think outside of the box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a viral job campaign. And all my friends in the industry started calling me and they said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to do an online interview. We're going to call it Dealer Therapy. Subi Ghosh, if you're familiar with her, called me up. She hosted a Google Hangout called Dealer Therapy. And I went on the raw about what I was looking for. Everything. Income, the position, what I was willing to do. Was I willing to go vendor? Was I willing to stay dealer? How was I going to do the search? And we promoted it everywhere. Had everybody go out on a limb on this thing, right? From there, I segmented targeted processes in Facebook and Twitter, and I hit the companies that I was interested in working for. I never made a phone call to a company. I never applied for a position. Never, not one time during that time did I apply for a position. I never put my resume out online. I put my LinkedIn out, which was up to date, right? And I did this search for a position in the way that many of the people that you're looking for to employ in staff would be doing their search. Right? I went word of mouth, 100%. So about a week in, I launched the Partner with Bobbie campaign, which was a landing page. It was the voice of my industry. Vendors, top-notch. Dealers, top-notch. Went to LinkedIn, wrote me reviews. I then targeted those reviews out. And the reason I share this with you is that if you're hiring proactively rather than reactively within your company, these are the types of things that you should be targeting. Social media. Right? This is where you should be looking for people. So this is an example of what a high potential job search looks like. I've been a general manager in my time. I've been a finance director, a sales manager, a salesperson, a BDC director, a general sales manager. I worked in fixed ops for 12 and a half weeks, not very long, but we get the gist of it, right? So this first thing that you see over here on the left is my Facebook campaign, and this is the Dealer Therapy campaign. The next one that you see is Twitter, okay? It is not me sharing these statuses. It's the people that I let speak for me that shared these statuses. Over here you have the Partner with Bobbie campaign, which was my online interview. I took a lot of slack for that online interview, right? So where did that bring us to? And how do you engage with a consumer or a person who operates in this fashion, right? So my new boss, in a very non-pitch way, is sitting in the front row. Eric, wave. Yeah. We're going to give Eric mad props because not only is it an outstanding company, but one of the major reasons that I chose to go with Zemont is Eric launched a full-scale recruitment campaign online. So what does that mean? He matched my behavior. We teach people in car sales to sit across the desk and mirror people. We say, if you go like this to me, go like this back. We say, let the other person talk, because the person who's silent wins, right? Wait till they communicate back. But we forget when we're recruiting people that we need to mirror their behavior as well. So what Eric did is Eric decided, so this is a funny story. You see this picture over on the left with the ZMOT logo? Okay, so I went to a painting with a twist party with a bunch of friends. And I, as crazy as this might seem, rebelled against what they wanted me to paint and instead painted my own design. And at the end, I stood with everybody with my design and them next to me, and I said, oh look, I painted a field of daisies. It was just like all green. I'm not a good painter. But Eric stole my picture off my Facebook page, popped it into Paint or whatever Photoshop he was using, and turned it into a recruiting tactic. Because it was so entertaining what he did, everybody on my Facebook decided that they were pro Eric, right? He's got my 16-year-old daughter on Facebook recruiting for him. She's like, well, if you went to Zima, we could probably go to Jamaica. Well, if you did this, and I'm like, that's probably not the case. But everybody went on this. You'll see a post here from Arnold Tianera, and he's retweeting Eric trying to recruit me. So Eric took the entire industry and said, I'm going to not only mirror this behavior, but I'm going to mimic it in a way that creates emotion for everybody involved. So it became a huge challenge for everyone. It became everybody saying, I want to be a part of that. Hey, let's raise my hand and get her to do this instead. This is an example of what a high-profile job search looks like. When I was at Garber, we had a rule there. We didn't hire applicants. We hired candidates. The difference between an applicant and a candidate was somebody who was unhappy and looking for a position versus somebody who was proactively in a position, making it work, and was not on the market, right? So you have to start to get creative in the way that you're looking at these things. Let's talk a little bit about stereotypes, because everybody loves them so much, right? So first we're going to talk about women. And because I'm a little edgy, there's a little bit of swearing in this presentation. But when you think about hiring women, a lot of the people in our business, and really in any industry, anywhere, say things like, well, women, they're just really emotional, right? Nobody cries in baseball, we all get it. Women, they're just, they can sometimes be a little passive, they're not aggressive. Yes, we are. It just comes off different. Our communication style is different, right? And you'll know that if you're married or you have a girlfriend and she's ever said this to you, right? That's fine, do what you want. You probably better not do what you want. That's not what that means, right? But attribute those things to the same thing that you're looking at in life. We court people in business like we're dating, right? So when you're thinking about women not working the hours or not giving the all that everybody thinks that they need to be doing, or you look at these stereotypes, it's important to note when you're thinking about them that those are perceptions you've created in your own head. Those are things as an industry that we share and we've made acceptable. It's like when we used to put ads in the paper and we would say the lease is going to be $179, and then in the disclaimer was everything that nobody qualified for. And now at the end of the month, or when people come in, we wonder why they want to negotiate that, or we wonder why they don't trust us anymore. So we have to change that perception as well. Let's talk about if it'll move. Maybe it won't, that's okay. If you are nothing more than a face on a newsletter or an email, then you have no motivation for your employees. And that goes right back into the next thing we're going to talk about, which is millennials. I am so over hearing the word millennial. Good God, right? How about we stop thinking about the people that we're talking to and we're engaging with as women or millennials or men, and how about we start thinking about them as people who have different personality types, and we begin to hire and manage in that way. Right? So stop saying to yourself, well, they're a millennial, so I need to give them a flexible pay plan, and oh my gosh, they're only going to work 35 hours. Or stop saying to them, well, she's got kids, she probably can't, do it that way. And we start managing people in a way that's based off of their personality. We start hiring that way. We start to see an increase in our revenue with our teams. The number one cost in a dealership is what? Does anybody know? Turnover. It's turnover. It's crazy, the numbers. These stereotypes don't help. Now, we joke around and talk about how millennials need trophies, right? We all got trophies. I do like a trophy. I'm not going to lie to you. But I'll work my ass off for that trophy, and you'll feel good giving it to me. And your team can be the same way. Okay? Screen obsessed. I love this about millennials. We're walking and texting. Yesterday I almost ran into a fountain, and I am a professional texter and walker. It was really bad, right? I was like, that'll be good. Somebody will help me out. It'll be fine. I was sober. But because they're screen obsessed, let's market to them as we're hiring the same way we would with a consumer. Let's be where the people are that we want to work for us. Get on the screen. Get out of the comfort level, because we don't engage with consumers in ways that are comfortable to us, and if we are, we need to change that pattern of behavior. But we are so bad about recruiting in a way that sends a message that we're only going to do it the way that we're used to rather than new ways. Okay? Let's see if I can get this sucker to work. Nope, so we'll be staying up here. All right, so what's all the hype? Why do you need to hire women and millennials anyways, right? Women make up half of today's buyers, influence around 80% of the buying decision. In the next 10 years, it's projected that the market spend in the entire United States for every industry will raise to 65% of women actually making the final decision on that. Why would you not want the face of your dealership, the face of your business, to look like the face of your customer? Right? This is hugely important. Did you know that across the nation, companies with women at the top outperform their peers by 15%? That's a huge number, right? So we're talking about that and we're saying, what does 15% look like for you on the books? Because I know what it looks like for us. By 2025, again, 75% of the workforce, and millennials dominate technology. So I always hear people say, if I hire millennials, then what about my old dogs? Right? And we're going to talk about that today, because we're going to talk about how you pair them up. All right, so a couple things we're going to cover today: how to properly write job ads, compensation and negotiations, structured pay plans, and retaining the high potential talent you have. It does you no good to do all these recruiting efforts if you don't retain the people that you bring in. All right, so the number one cost for a dealership is people. The cost is 3 times the amount, and this is according to NADA's study last year, the operations workforce study. So if we're talking about the people that we have in currently, then we would say dealership employees, sales consultant, and female sales consultants. And this is how the spend is broken up for NADA. So obviously, what's up this year? Sales consultants are up 6% on turnover rate. 6% is a lot. If you think about what you're putting into the average employee, according to NADA and the DO study, each employee that you lose in a management position that turns over will cost you 1 to 3 times their average salary for a year. That's massive. If you think about all the things that we're cutting all the time, we're looking at marketing, we're looking at where are we getting an ROI at. Nobody's really looking at the ROI of their people and what you're spending. It's extremely expensive to have turnover. Dealership employees, the turnover is up to 39% last year. 72 on sales consultants, and can anybody tell me what the number is for women? What would you guess?
20.
What did you say? 20? Much higher than 20, right? Let me show you what that looks like. 90%. So if I came into your business and I said to you, I have a way to increase your investment by 15%, save you $70,000 on average this year, and I'm going to do it all with what you're already using. I'm not even going to change a thing. I'm not going to ask you for more money. I'm not going to do any of that. Would anybody say, no, I'm not interested in that? You're not going to say that. And this is where it comes in, is the people on your staff. It's retaining those people. Let's look at what's the difference between being connected, starting with job descriptions. For the love of God, please stop writing job descriptions that say things like, I know people get creative and they're like, oh, we're looking for a ninja. A ninja's not going to appeal to me. Oh, we're looking for a rock star. Probably not. That's not going to grab my attention. That's not creative. That's lazy copying, is what that is. Stop writing job descriptions that aren't real job descriptions, and let's focus on why I should work for you, right? In my age group, with women, or with millennials, or with men, it doesn't matter, because remember, that number includes men, those millennials that are coming in. All of those things are attributed to places that people want to work. Why do I want to work for you, especially in an industry that has the highest turnover in corporate America? Right? So when we're writing job descriptions, be very thorough about them. When you start talking about what you're going to have, think about this Pew's Digital Era Research Report. And if you haven't seen that, it's available on the Hierology website. There's some great handouts out there, and that digital results are on there as well. The internet is a key resource for reaching active job seekers. Stop writing job descriptions that don't look good on mobile. Stop making them in a way that they don't look good on responsive and take the time to actually put that out there. That's a huge one, and it sounds very simple, what I'm saying, right? Rewrite your job ads. Rewrite your job ads to showcase the culture that you have in the stores that you work in and that you're hiring for. Also, make yourself stand out in a comments thing. So many times I see people do job descriptions and it's a copy from another company, right? So if we're looking at, let me make this pull up. Apologize for the stops in this while I'm finding this. Okay. You're going to need a unique job title. That's a big part of this. You're going to need responsibilities highlighting the company, the culture, the environment, the career paths, and the job perks. Recently, we opened a new office in Michigan for my new job. And what we did when we looked at the office is we looked for work perks, things that would be relevant to people that we were hiring. Right? We're going to hire a lot of millennials. So we looked for things like we have a gym in our building. We have 2 heated pools in our building and a coffee shop. None of that costs my company extra money to offer. Every one of those is a work perk for the people that we're hiring. Right? So that's a cultural thing. Mobile friendly. This is a huge one. So I took a look at some of the dealership websites, including my past ones. And what I saw consistently amongst everybody was that nobody was looking at mobile friendly applications and resumes. So if you think about screen-obsessed people or people who are sitting in front, I'm probably not going to ever do a job search on a desktop. But I am going to pull out a mobile device, I'm going to pull up my information, I'm going to submit it through. So you have to start thinking about the why buy for who you're hiring on your websites, right? Those should have a career page, it should showcase everything that you're doing, and it should be mobile-friendly for submission. If you're using a tag program, if you have a recruiter in your company and you're using a tag program, please stop doing that. People are flattening their resumes now in PDF files so that they print pretty. They're putting things like pictures in them. And we as an industry are still doing things like pulling stuff in and looking for keywords. Even SEO caught up to that. No more stuffing. Okay? So mobile friendly is huge. That's where the majority of the web searches are coming from in any age demographic. All right. Why work for us? So Sean, can you come up and be my Vanna White, please? I need you to pull up a video for me. Doesn't Sean look like, has everybody met Sean Rains? No? Can we get a round of applause for Sean Rains, please? I'm going to have Sean pull up an example of something I want to show you guys. In the interest of not crashing, I didn't embed it into my video file. You'll appreciate that if you've ever seen me speak, that happens a lot. So if you can go to YouTube for me. So let's talk.
What's YouTube?
You're not familiar with YouTube? Why doesn't that surprise me? What are you? Do you have a watch on? What are you?
I'm not a millennial.
What are you, a boomer?
No. Generation X.
His session is on hair bands. I'm going to let that speak for itself.
Sean, you want my glasses?
So when we're talking about why work for us, I am going to give you some examples of this, but I know that you've heard for the last couple of years that anything that you've attended that you need a why work for us or a why buy from us, right? So put it on your website, give us a reason. What about a why work for us? Let your employees speak for why this is a great place to work. Why should they be in your company? Let them talk to your audience. It's the same thing we would do with consumer reviews when we highlight them, but we would do this with a why work for us. I'm going to give you a couple examples. If you'll just Google, could you just Google on YouTube for me? Why work for us, Garber? Yeah, you're doing so good. I so appreciate you. Thanks so much. Get your present later. Perfect. Then just hit enter for me. And go ahead and click that one right there. We're not going to watch this whole video, but you're welcome to search for them later. It's called Why Work For Us Garber, and you'll find one for every Garber store that we have. Recruiting is a big thing there. You're doing great, Vanna. Okay, so some of the things that while he's pulling that up that I want you to highlight in a Why Work For Us is hours, is pay, is the perks that you have there, the company vacations, the flexibility on scheduling. If you're running a split AB shift, if you have Saturdays off, if you have a 5-day work week, what sets you apart? And I would challenge you to go back to your business and find the top 3 reasons that you as a candidate would choose you. And I challenge you to do this for a couple of reasons. One, it's much more difficult than you think of. Because you'll say to yourself things like, well, we're family rich in history for 100 years. That's awesome. I think that's great. I love that you're being so successful in doing that. I'm sure that the 24-year-old coming out of school cares that you've done great for 100 years. No, you care. And so you got to stop messaging people with things that you care about and not the employee. Yeah, all right. Can you just make it have volume?
Sure.
Maybe. Okay, just for fun while he's doing this, let's play a game. Who hasn't done this yet? So let's go, Jeremy. Jeremy, when you're in the hiring process, I have a question for you, okay? So a woman, and Joey Little gave this to me, he said I had to give him credit for it. So a woman attends a funeral for her mother. While she's there, she sees the man and she falls immediately in love. Immediately in love. She's, oh, my heart is just racing. I need to touch him. She leaves the funeral and 3 days later she kills her sister. Jeremy, why did she kill her sister?
She likes guns.
That's good, but that's actually a good answer. I'll tell you why in a minute. Okay, what about you, sir? With the, yeah.
Me?
Yeah? Why'd she kill her sister?
She was the first person to pay.
That's good too. We ask this question in job interviews to determine if somebody is a psychopath. She killed her sister because she wanted to see the man again. So good news, neither one of you are psychopaths, and so you've passed the test. I think that's great. I'm going to give you a round of applause for being able to do that. Can everybody applaud for them for not being crazy? Nobody wants to come in here in a Dexter situation, I promise. So I'm just keeping you all safe. The people who looked sketchy, I wanted to check on. If that's not going to play with volume, that's okay. I can skip it. So we can go through that. Sean's getting crafty over here. I really do want you guys to see this video. I think it's important, and I think it'll help you when you go back on what you're doing.
My name is Juan Bush. I'm a used car sales manager. I've been with the company for just over 14 years. And, I worked at another dealership for a short stint, and wasn't very family-oriented. This company is very family-oriented. It gives me the opportunity to keep my employees around for a very long time as well.
It's a great place to work because we feel like a family here. We take care of each other, we support each other, and it's just a great place to work.
What makes the team I work with great is their honesty, their integrity, their willingness to help us, whether it be here at work or it be at home. They're just genuinely good people.
Being new in this business, I don't know everything, obviously, and they're there always having my back.
My favorite part about working at Garber Buick is the people and the culture we have here. I absolutely love coming to work. I have a really close work family, I feel like, and all the other employees are just there for each other, and we have a lot of fun at work.
I know I have value here at Garber Buick because they let us know that we have value, and they let us know when we're doing a good job. A pat on the back, or hey, you're doing great, or whatever you just did, hey, that looked wonderful, is worth so much more than money.
We do have the gung-ho attitude. It's not hard to get somebody else to come and help you if you're busy with other customers.
And then just bring the presentation back up. Okay, so what I want to highlight on here, and again, you guys can go back and look at these anytime, but what I want to highlight on here for you is this campaign was directed at hiring millennials and women, and millennial men, millennial women both ways. So if you notice, what did we feature? Did you see how many women are in there? Do you believe we even have that many women that work in that dealership? This dealership has less than a 3% turnover rate and employs 65% women in the dealership. In leadership, 3 of the 4 managers are women. And on the floor, we had a pair-up process between millennials and the old car guys. We'll talk about that more as we get into compensation plans. But that's a big part of it, right? So, let's go back to, thank you. Let me skip this back here. Why should you work here? Oh, we're wonderful, we're lovely, right? If you're looking at a dealership, what is scary for people coming into the business? It's commission, right? That's the biggest thing people say. I'm a little concerned about commission. I'm a little bit concerned about the turnover. So let your employees speak about why that's not an issue where you're at. Let them share that message and let it be genuine. We did not pay any of our employees to do this. We asked them to be brutally honest, and we made a video that was brutally honest. Only that one was not for the audience that we were trying to recruit. That was for our own internal teams to be able to see the issues that we were faced with that we needed to handle. The next thing I want to talk to you about is social media and job boards. If you're not advertising for positions on Facebook, you're missing the game. I didn't advertise that I was available anywhere but Facebook and Twitter. In the 12 weeks that I was searching for a position, in the first week after I posted my job ad, I had 43 offers between dealers and vendors. When I drilled down to who I thought was serious or who I wanted to work for, I had 27 opportunities. Of the 27, I went to the next level with 14. Of that, I drilled it down to my top 5. They were my candidates. See, in my generation, or when I'm thinking about levels of things, and I'm a very humble person, I'm a very appreciative person. I'm not cocky, but I am confident. And so when I looked at these positions, in my mind, I was interviewing them for an opportunity to work with me, as much as they were interviewing me for an opportunity to work with them. That mindset is pretty traditional in my age group, in my generation. Somebody let this gentleman in. Oh, he's good, never mind. He tried. We'll give him props for that. So channel your inner millennial. Start thinking about social media and job boards and where you're targeting, and start targeting the people that you really want to bring in. Job boards, again, the same thing. There are a lot of job boards out there. You should be familiar with the type of job boards that are going to supply you with the people you're looking at. Just like a lead source, we need to think of it the same way. So when you're writing and you're on these social media and job boards, channel your inner millennial. Show off a little bit. Talk about why you want to be there, and talk about it in an area where people are available and where that's what they're paying attention to. Mirror their actions back, okay? If I'm engaging with you that way, engage with me that way. Give me a reason to be there so I know that you're going to listen. All right. The next thing is diversity. So in these slides, you're going to see little pro tips on the side. Diversity is a huge thing in your group. During my job search, and I use this because it's something that just recently happened, I spent time with a company that I never thought I would be interested in working for on one of their dealer panels. And I went to their company on this dealer panel, and I sat around a table, and I looked around, and I was in awe of the diversity at the table. There were men, women, every ethnic group. Everybody was listening and collaborating. That's something that our generation really likes, right? And I was in awe of this company, and it made them a contender on a list that I never thought that they would be a contender on. And so this is what's happening. We're seeing these things. It's also 25% is the increase in profit for a company nationally that employs a diverse leadership team. See, we have an issue in our industry of hiring people we like. Only when we hire people we like, what happens is we hire people like us. There's no collaboration, there's no challenge, there's no intimidation. Those things for growth are essential. So that's going to be a big part of what we're looking at here as well. So let's talk about some pro tips for recruiting people, right? Does anybody in the room have a bonus plan for employee referrals and retention? Oh my gosh, I'm so glad to see that. So how many of you at 1 year in pay a retention bonus? Any? That shocks me because it's so rare. I'm not surprised AJ would. Part of the problem that we have is we'll pay somebody a bonus for bringing somebody on, but we won't pay them a bonus for investing in the success of that person. And as thought leaders, as leaders in an industry, we're not capable of doing everything all the time by ourselves. So when we bring people in, and I say, Natalie, you brought in Ashley, here's your bonus. Natalie, now Ashley's success is tied to yours. Now what have we created? Internally, we've created what's called a sponsor for that person. It will be important to Natalie that Ashley's success is critical. She'll get a bonus, but more importantly, she'll get a bond. And that's something that we struggle with in our industry as well. So if you don't have this in place yet, it doesn't have to be huge. You can do something as simple as $100 for bringing somebody in. You can do something as simple as $500 for retention. Always pay more for retention than you do for hiring. Okay. All right, let's talk about how we hire people, because this is a big issue in many industries. We have a tendency to hire what we call reactively, right? Salesperson quits, sales manager leaves. Oh shit, who do we have in the bullpen? Probably nobody. Right? Now you're hiring people for the wrong reasons, and what happens there? We increase turnover. That's why you're seeing such huge numbers from NADA. It's because we don't hire properly in the beginning. Okay? So a couple of the key things that I'd like you guys to think about is, obviously everybody knows to do a background check. How many of you do personality assessments in the room? Huge, right? Not only for hiring, but again, for retention. If you're a group or you have multiple locations, when you hire somebody, it should not be that you are placing them at a location because that location needs the person. It should be that you are placing them at a location where they will have retention because they have the personality to be like-minded to the manager and to be managed appropriately. Okay, the other part of that is, again, we have a tendency to hire people we like. So start using personality assessments so that you're hiring people for a position that they fit in. We can know that we want somebody on our team, but we also have to make sure that we've done them the due diligence and the fairness to set them up for success. And that happens when you're where you're supposed to be. Social media reviews, this is a huge one. Are all of you checking people's Facebooks, looking at LinkedIn, Twitter? Okay, perfect. So here's the next level that I'd like you to look at with that. I see people look at it, and I see them look at just the postings, but then they forget to look at the comments. So here's a little pro tip if you're not huge on Facebook. If my public profile picture is private or is public, everything else is private, I'll tell you what I tell my kids, right? You become the people that you surround yourself with. Friends are like elevators. They'll take you up or they'll take you down. So friends that are like elevators will also make inappropriate comments all over your Facebook page that you cannot control. And if it's a public picture, you can read it. So look for those engagements and those interactions, right? That's a huge, huge, huge thing. Be looking at their LinkedIn. Be looking at their Twitter. I mean, just do a basic Google search of somebody with some air quotes around it, and you're going to be able to get that information. An extensive phone interview. The most important thing I could tell you if you're staffing a BDC, which is kind of what I'm known for, is that you should be first doing a phone interview. Don't you want to hear what they sound like on the phone? Do you want to hear how they engage, the inflection in their voice? Do they smile when they're talking? Do you hear it through that? Vital to the success of anything that you're working on for prospecting. The other part of that is, we call it fake it until you make it in our business, right? So what happens is, I can sit through an interview and school anything. Lovely, interview like a dream. But on the second interview, am I going to be able to maintain that same level of, I don't want to call it fakeness, but that's what it is, right? Do a TO on an interview just like you would a car deal. See what the other person is picking up. That's a huge part of it. Behavioral interviews. I've been doing behavioral interviews for years, and I am a huge fan of them. Okay, that goes along with the personality assessments that you're looking at. If you don't have a company that you're using and you're interested in it, again, Hireology does a great job with it, and I've seen their website, looked at their behaviorals, and I do not work for Hireology, so I use them because the information that's on there is accurate, and it's what you should be looking at. Reinforcing culture and career path. So we're really good about putting the ad out, but then people come in and we're in the interview, and how do we solidify that you want to work for us when we're in the interview? We got to sell, right? Grant Cardone has always said that he will hire passion over talent anytime. Dave Ramsey says the same thing, so does Simon LinkedIn. So anybody that you're looking at that is brilliant when it comes to building teams is going to tell you that passion is key. I don't care what your background is. If you come in and you're energetic and you're enthused, I want your charisma. I want the magnetism that you bring, because I can teach you to do anything else. If you have ambition and charisma, hire that person. And the less you like them, the more you should hire them. They're going to challenge you. Why work here, sell and buy? We talked about that a little bit with the video. And ready to say yes. So I would bring in a couple things for you. Do they have the right skill set? Do they fit the culture, and do they share the company values? You can hire the smartest person in the world, but if they don't fit your company values, you're going to have problems later. Home interview is something that Bob King introduced probably 30 years ago, and it's how I was taught to hire people. So home interview is the last interview. This is especially important in automotive with turnover, because one of the biggest problems we have is spouses, right? It's damn spouses. You know, you're working too many hours, you don't have this, you don't have that. What if you incorporate a home interview at the end and you meet with the spouse so they can interview you? Setting expectations is the best form of communication. What happens is, oftentimes we're upset with our job, we're upset with our personal life, we're upset with those things because nobody told us what to expect, so we just invented in our head how everything should happen. We just assumed this other person was just going to be right on board. Okay? So home interview happens in the home. Do they have children? Hi, Anthony. Do they have children? Invite them to the interview. You want to see how somebody's going to lead a team? Invite their kids. If they've got teenagers, you are on it, right? Let their kids come and be a part of it. See how they interact with them. You know, did the mom look? Did they, like, you know, acting a fool? Yeah.
Is that legal? Like, if you say, oh, well, they used out?
Mm-hmm. So how you would address that is you say, you know, one of the things that we like to do in our company is it's really important to us that your whole family's a fit. See, we're not just about employing you, we're about a work-life balance. And we want to make sure everybody's comfortable, so we'd like to schedule a time to meet with you and your spouse and your children, make sure we answer any questions that they have. You can meet at an off-site restaurant, wherever it is, but all it's really designed for is that. And with millennials, if they're a young millennial, the last person that I hired that is just a rock star, I did her home interview with her dad. I really did. And he said to me, the only requirement I have is if she's going to be downtown, please don't let her go downtown by herself. I've walked that girl out of a building every day for 4 years because I told her dad I would. And she was one of the best employees that I've ever had. So yes, you can do that. Absolutely. And it's really vital. And spouses like that, right? So the wife or the husband get to start asking questions that they weren't a part of before. And it makes them feel included. And we have to start focusing on all-inclusiveness and stuff. So you came to their house, you brought them cookies, you did whatever you did. She's a little more, or he's a little more likely to forgive you when you're working till 9 o'clock all the time. All right, so retention tip. This one is a big one. I like you, you're hired. Stop doing that. Stop it. If everybody you hire thinks the same way that you do on your team, who's filling strengths and weaknesses, right? I like you, I'm gonna hire you. Oh, that's great, we can hang out at lunch. We're not gonna make any more money, but we'll be great friends. Like, how about we just make a date for Friday instead? But that's part of it, and we do that unintentionally, and it's human nature to take people that you like and want to bond with them. I use this example a lot. If you've ever seen two girls in a bar who have never met and they've both had 2 drinks, what is happening? They're like, oh my God, you crochet, I crochet. Oh my God, you have kids, I play soccer. All of a sudden they're like the best of friends. That's what happens. Men are a little different in that men will do the same thing, but they will use facts instead of emotion. So it becomes like a little bit of a battle, right? Oh, I'm so awesome. But they don't say it like that. That's human nature. And so when you're hiring somebody and you're looking at strengths and weaknesses, what is happening is you're saying, I'm going to fill this person, this person, this person. I would challenge you, especially on your leadership teams, to start hiring people who are different than you. Start hiring people who you can collaborate with, that will challenge you, that are not intimidated by you, and that will come up with different ideas. If you're the only one growing your business, you might as well just run it yourself and not do anything with anybody else. Okay, this is a huge one, and it's very uncomfortable. It's a very difficult change to make because it's that human nature part of it. I would definitely challenge you to do that, and bring in a TO from somebody who's in another department. Are you hiring for service? Bring in the sales manager for the TO. Are you hiring for the office? Bring in the finance manager for the TO. Force that bond in the beginning and let somebody who has a different mindset think of things differently than you do. Okay? That will help your retention. All right. We talked about that already. So let you know a secret. If you look at any one of the polls, and I don't make these numbers up, although 90% of statistics are made up on the spot, so you can take like half of what I say and call it good. But if you look at the statistics for men and women, diverse-wise, in a company, you will find that all of the reports from this year, between the percentage of 30 and 60% increase in ROI when you have a diverse leadership team that includes both men and women. The reason for that is we have fact and we have emotion. And if we're hiring people who are thinking different, then all of a sudden you turn a team into thought leaders instead of one person. I would tell you the same thing while we're talking about this. I have people say to me, well, I have a 40-car guy, I'm not going to get rid of him. If you have a 40-car guy, he's probably selling 60 if you do stuff the way you tell him to. You want to lose 20 car deals? People always look at it as a gain. That's not what it is. Okay? So, welcome to the team. Here's where we get into retention. We've talked about connecting, right? This is where it gets a little bit different. So the day one drill down. I've had a policy in place for 9 years, the last 9 years of my career. If you start working for me on the day you get there, I am available to you. When you sit down at your desk, you will have a computer, you will have a business card, you will have an email, you will have a password to everything that you need, because how dare you hire somebody and then not set them up for success? What does that say when they come in the first day and they have to wait for 3 hours for you because you're in a meeting, closing a deal, whatever it is? It says, this is the precedent we have now. We can screw around for the first 3 hours of every day. That is not the message that you want to send. Have their stuff ready. Show them that they're valued so that you can retain them later. There's nothing worse than feeling like you walked into a job and nobody cared that you were there. Okay? Same thing with walking them around to everybody. I always see people walk people around dealerships and they do like the generic, like, hi, this is so-and-so. Oh, she's starting tomorrow. Hi, this is so-and-so. Instead of doing that, when you walk them around, I want you to really think about one thing that is great about that person. One reason that you hired them, and I want you to share that when you walk them around. Okay? This is called building a bond between your teams, and retention works when everybody wants to be there, because people don't quit jobs, really. They quit people. They quit people. That's what they do. That's why when a very successful leader walks out of a very unsuccessful business or successful business, their people will follow them. All you got to do is raise your hand, your people will go with you. That is a sign of a leader. And that is somebody who worked on retention and worked in the recruiting process. Scheduling for success. This is a controversial topic in our industry for me to say that people shouldn't work 90 hours a week. If you are still in the mindset that people should work 90 hours a week, I challenge you to sit back and look at your business. Because people with a home-life balance are more efficient. If people know that you care about them, they will care about you, and they will work harder for you. They will do anything that you ask them to do, and they will do it with 20 times the efficiency because you cared if their home life had a balance. So we used to have a saying, don't flood the floor, right? Don't hire 20 people and flood the floor. Why is that even a thing anymore? Salespeople are now responsible for bringing in 50% of their own business. So that's not flooding the floor, that's creating opportunities. But what it does give you the ability to do is give people a 5-day work week. Give them a 6-day work week. I am not a morning person. I'm great at a lot of things in life, but the mornings are not for me. I would much rather come into work at 11 and work till 10 o'clock at night. I work till 4 a.m. some days. And that flexibility that's been provided to me to be able to do that is important. And it's important to a lot of people. People are efficient at different levels. So when you're thinking about scheduling, When you're doing your forecasting, look at your people and say, if I scheduled you for 40 hours a week and you end up working 50 or 60, that's what happens in sales, right? We're busy, we have people come in. Start A/B teams, start weekend teams. Stop saying things like, you have a 5-day work week, and then somebody comes in, they want to take a Tuesday off, you're like, why don't you do it on Saturday? Because everything you have to do in your life that's maintenance doesn't happen on a Saturday. Nothing's open on Saturday, right? But instead what we say is, oh, you hit your sales goal? That qualifies you for a day off. Do I need to pay you for that day off? No, you're on sales commission. So unless you're making less than minimum wage, which you shouldn't still be working for me if that's the case, you earned your own money. I don't care when you earn it. But I'll happily make a Tuesday off available for you, and I will never, ever, ever in the dealership say something stupid like, well, you had Tuesday off, or, oh, must be nice that you had yesterday off, because this is a reward. If you've ever listened to Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone, which is one of my favorite books that's been redone 7,500 times, one of the things he says is you're always selling or you're being sold, and everything in life is a commission. We have to stop thinking about monetary value as being the only commission that happens. Okay? Days off are a commission. That's something that you earn. Compensation packages. We are very old school. What is it? 25% minus PAC, right? Maybe you're going to throw in finance and do a 15-10 split. Maybe we've got specials. We're going to do 20 and 5. Whatever it is, it all works out to the same. We're all trying to retain that 30%. So when we look at that and we look at the compensation packages, do not be afraid to create compensation packages that are based on volume or non-commission. We instituted at Garber 3 years ago when I started building this program for them, a 2-option package. You can choose to go on salary with a volume bonus when you hit 8+. You can choose to go on commission. I don't do finance, but the CEO said it all worked out the same, right? But we give them the choice. And in your first year, you can switch that pay plan one time at any time. And then after that, you can switch once per year on your anniversary. It's a retention tip, keeping you there. It works out to be the same, but it's a comfort level for people. There are great people in our world that are managers and leaders and salespeople that are terrified to work for you, not because they don't have the skill, but because they don't possess the financial ability to take a risk. Okay? Training path and shared goals. This is one of the most important things I can tell you. If you don't have a training path and a shared goal in your dealership, that's something that you need to get on right now. First of all, don't create goals that are isolated to you, or the team will not employ them because they won't matter to them. Use the wonderful sales tactics that you had to get you here to sell them on what your goal is, and then make it a full-time thing for everybody. Training path is a huge one. Many millennials and women coming into business say things like, okay, I want to be a leader. I want to be a manager. Great, you just came out of college? Perfect. What we have a tendency to do is we say things to them like, well, it's going to take some time, you're going to have to work it out. Only their mindset doesn't work that way. See, they've been through school and college, and everything had a schedule. Mom had a thing on the calendar that said like when ballet was. Nobody had to remember anything. And what happens with that, with the training path, is you say things to them like, well, you're working towards it, you're working towards it. Go back to expectations. In our company, it takes 5 years to be on the path to be a sales manager. Say you just came out of school. Year 1 will consist of you being on the floor. You'll have a quarterly review with your manager every quarter. We'll talk about ways to get you to the next level. We'll address any problems immediately so they don't continue. At the end of year 1, you'll go back onto the sales floor in a different capacity, because now you're going to start learning a little bit about finance. 1 day a week, you're going to invest in your own success, and you're going to spend 5 hours in finance helping them. Right? Year 3, you're going to come in and you're going to be an assistant sales manager. That does not mean that you're not going to still be selling cars. That means every day is an interview, and we're going to give you an opportunity to shine like a diamond. Okay, so you see how that goes, right? I've set an expectation. What I'm also going to set in the beginning is this. Quarterly, you will have reviews. Should be doing reviews quarterly, monthly, weekly anyways. Together, we will determine if you're ready for the next level or if there's an extension. At the end of 5 years, you will be up to be interviewed for a position when one comes available in our group. Right? I set an expectation. I didn't promise anybody a job. It didn't cost me any more money. I cross-trained an employee that now can work in multiple departments as an assistant, so that if I have to reactively hire somebody, I'm already prepared for that. Okay? All right, let's talk about motivation. Can somebody give me a time check? Okay. Let's talk about motivation a little bit. Communication is key. Empower and implement. This is a huge thing because we have to get out of people's way. If you're hiring the right people, they're smart people, listen to them, collaborate, and get out of their way. Empower people by telling them they're doing a great job. I'm not a person who needs a lot of pats on the back, but you do need to tell me that I'm doing a good job. Because it feels good. It's like dating, right? You're not going to date somebody and not tell them they look pretty when you see them. That's stupid. It's not smart. So whenever you're working with people like that, think of it that way as courting. Okay? We'll skip a couple slides here, just because we're running a little bit light on time. So, motivation for compensation and pay plans. One thing I want to leave you with before, because we're running short on time, is I have been very successful in taking the old car guys in my dealerships and pairing them with the new people, millennials, women, whoever it is, and letting them now function as a team. It creates two things. I tie their pay plans together. The success of both is dependent on one another. We create sponsorships and mentors that way. I also have guys who are 75 and just can't use the CRM to save their life. But I'm not willing to make it a thing where it's okay not to. So we pair them with somebody who's really good at CRM, really good at setting appointments, really good at making phone calls. That person does that alongside them. Then the old car sales guy does the art of the close, right? We cannot teach people to close. It is an art form. They need to see it. So now we'll call him Laz. I really have a guy like that who's 75. And Molly, who was in the video, he was her mentor. They were partners. Molly taught Laz how to prospect in a way that we never thought we could teach him. And Laz taught Molly how to close. And what happened after we separated their bond from each other 1 year in, because that was the rule, is that all of a sudden it mattered to Laz, even though he was no longer being paid on it, that she was successful. And so now we're building bonds within the team and we're retaining more people. That's a huge thing. If you have any questions on how you make that work with a pay plan without increasing the amount that you're paying out, let me know. It works with volume bonuses and a couple different things. I'd be happy to help you with that. If you need pay plan ideas for that, the same thing, because that's wildly successful when you're bringing people in. The other thing is, and not to bring up hierology again, but I will tell you, I wanted to print some handouts for you guys, and unfortunately the concierge didn't get them done in time, but you can visit their website. They have several white papers and blogs that you can download. And I use them because their thought process is the same as what mine is, learning in a dealership. Okay? Any questions? You guys are all recruiting geniuses now. I love it. Give yourself a round of applause, please.